looking forward to match week 21 of the EPL. Early Saturday kickoff is Everton against Newcastle United. Everton drew 1-1 with with Leicester City in midweek. And Bob, we were just talking about Jordan Pickford and his high-profile gaffes. I hope Gareth Southgate didn't see that one.
I think he did because he was there, wasn't he?
I hope he looked away at that time.
He would have heard about it. No, I think Pickford, he was a hero at the World Cup, but he's made too many gaffes, high profile, and the manner of them. He seems really het up, hyper most of the time. You don't want that in a goalkeeper, and he's not that big. Often when he's beaten in the top corner, you feel that a taller keeper might have just got a fingertip to it. And Nick Pope is a taller keeper, much taller. And I think he's playing out of his skin. So I think Pickford will be lucky to hold on to his England place, possibly even his Everton place, because they've got a reserve keeper who's a full international, Swedish international. Carlo Ancelotti has been very philosophical about Pickford, sort of pretending it's not a catastrophe and, we're getting the points anyway and this sort of thing. But he's got to be a bit concerned. So Everton, I think, they should beat Newcastle. They'll be glad they're playing Newcastle because I thought they were inferior in midweek to Leicester. This, on paper, looks about the easiest tie of this round of fixtures. But you have to say about Newcastle, there is a glimmer of hope for the fans. Good news, if you call it that, but the Saudi takeover could actually still happen because there's been a peace agreement between Qatar and Saudi, and they're restoring full relations and all the rest of it. And it's possible that the big bone of contention with the EPL over the broadcasting, the be-in sports, could be resolved if Be Out Sports shuts down. Now, that's a big ask, but if Saudi Arabia means to keep this agreement, they've really got to do that.
Yeah.
If that happens, the takeover could happen and Rafa Benitez could be installed as manager.
I was just going to say, Rafa's just rubbing his hands. He's free at the moment. But you've got to feel for Newcastle, Des Corkill. I mean, no form at the moment. I think it's 11 winless now for Steve Bruce. And he's got to go to Everton. You feel he's probably not going to get sacked here. But until the takeover becomes a reality.
I don't feel for Newcastle because they don't go and try and win games of football. That's my consistent refrain. They try not to lose games of football, which is a very, very different kettle of fish. And Steve Bruce has just bought into that pragmatic style. It comes from the very top. The very top don't want really progressive football. They don't want to spend the money that you must do to get to the very, very top. Sadly, you must do it. But he also is just being pragmatic enough to try to avoid the relegation zone. So there's no sympathy. As for Everton, I just need to come to Jordan Pickford's defence a little bit. Difficult. It looks bad, that goal. But if you look from behind the goal, he does not see the ball. He does not have a chance to see the ball until it's about 6 yards out. So his reaction speed is awesome. And his hand is strong. He's just in the middle of the goal and it comes off the post and in. So he's going through one of those long spells, 6-month spells, where things are going against him. So I do need to try and defend him simply because it was such it was an incredible reaction save, apart from the fact he didn't save it. But you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes,
It's millimeters away from being a sensational.
Total goalkeepers union statement from Des Corkill.
But it's easy to say, oh, he should have saved that. But then you look at it in a bit closer detail, and I always do. It's almost impossible.
All right, on paper, the ideal tie for Everton. This one, Everton Newcastle is the early kickoff on Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Man City versus Sheffield United. Yet again, it's top versus bottom. It's deja vu for the Blades. Craig Marias, surely it can't happen twice. Surely lightning twice. No.
No, I mean, I spoke about City earlier on, and I just think they've moved up a level right now. And as good as Sheffield United performed at Old Trafford the other day, I just can't see it. I do think this win will give them a bit of confidence that they really need. But is it going to change much? I really can't see it. I mean, Sheffield United can frustrate the life out of City, but I mean, the way the confidence oozing through that team right now, you mentioned that there's no striker. They're more than happy to play without a striker because, the quality that, the likes of Sterling has, Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, they're all chipping in. Gundogan, we mentioned as well, just filling in the boots of a striker right now. And, the City lineup is so strong that we haven't even mentioned the loss of Kevin De Bruyne, who's arguably one of the best players in the Premier League.
Nathan Ake, I forgot, also signed for City, didn't he?
He is, yeah. I think he's injured at the moment as well.
Yeah, but
you look at that bench, you got Laporte as well.
Oh,
I mean, Laporte
yeah.
was City's great defender when he signed like about 18 months ago or whatever it was. So it's just testament to Pep and the work that he's put in with his team to get that defense sorted. And like I said, we can talk about all the goals and everything, and City have always been able to do that, but they've never been able to defend, and now they are. So I just think, Bob mentioned Liverpool, and he thinks they're going to go on. I can't see it with City playing like this. I really can't.
Yeah, well, for sure. We say for sure, but the City players are going to fill their boots, aren't they, Bob Holmes? I mean, Sheffield United, for all the heroic stuff they did in midweek at Old Trafford, they're still 10 points adrift at the bottom.
Yes, they are, but they're closing in on Derby's record. I think they're probably odds on now to pass it, and Derby will continue to hold that record of lowest number of points ever in the Premier League. Sheffield United, they're not going to be absolute pushovers. They never are. They always fight, and all credit to Chris Wilder for engendering this kind of spirit in the team, in the club. He brought them up from the third tier, and with players that very few people had heard of, to be honest, and had a great season last year. It's just been the fine margins, one or two injuries in key positions that have seen them losing by the odd goal instead of winning by the odd goal and scraping a point as they did last season. They're not going to sack Chris Wilder. I mean, many people might look at that and think that he's going to be the next guy to go. He won't. Even if they don't get another point for the rest of the season, Chris Wilder will be in that job at the end and for the start of next season, because he is absolutely loved there, almost as much as Jurgen Klopp is at Liverpool. They will go down fighting, but you can't see any other result but a comfortable City win, and yes, without De Bruyne. So it's interesting that most of the top sides have got an injury to concern them with, and it's hardly surprising in this weird season with not much of a pre-season and games coming 3 times a week sometimes, that there are these big name injuries. Harry Kane as another we could mention. And I think this is football's loss. I mean, it's all great fun, games coming thick and fast. But when you're seeing your top guys getting injured and out for probably 2 or 3 months at a time, if not more, it's a big loss. And I don't think there's any coincidence about this. I do think it is the number of games being played and the lack of proper preparation at the beginning of the season.
All right. Well, we expect City to win big. Man City, Sheffield United. It's a Saturday, 11 p.m. kickoff. West Brom against Fulham. This one is a basement battle. It's Saturday, 11 p.m. The Baggies under Sam Allardyce hoping to avoid 6 straight home losses. Des Corkill. We saw them. They were abject against City in midweek. This one slightly more achievable, but arguably Fulham come into this one as the form team.
One game at a time, I think, for West Bromwich Albion and Sam Allardyce. They've got to put the 5-0, including the controversial goal, the importance of an all-important second goal. They've got to put that behind them. They've just got to say the season starts here. We're not out of it completely. What is it? It's how many points from safety? So the game against Fulham is very important, but they're 7 points away from Brighton, who are in safety. So one game at a time. That's how it's got to be. I'd love to see them try to be more adventurous. I've said that time and time again. Obviously, Sam Allardyce's main way of doing things is tighten things up defensively. That hasn't worked. So you may as well try and go and win these games against Fulham. A draw doesn't help them against Fulham because they're in the mix with them. You've got to win these kind of games because, well, as you say, the season's rolling on. We're halfway through. Yeah. Another 10 games without a run of wins, and they've got no chance.
Yep. Transfer window is days away from closing as well. And as Des mentioned, Craig, tightening up at the back is Big Sam's way, but they've conceded a minimum 3 goals per game in their last 6 defeats. So that's not working. They are scoring, though, now.
Yeah, here and there. Very rare. They are about to sign a striker, though, from the Turkish league. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of adapts to the Premier League. And it's a weird one because obviously West Brom are in the situation where they are. I think, they almost need to win every single game to stand a chance of surviving in the league. And I just think, we give Sam Allardyce credit for, tightening up things at the back and organising the team a lot better. And I just haven't seen it. And whether it's the quality of the players that he has, there are a lot of factors here. I think the only one shining light he's had since he's been there is Sam Johnston, the goalkeeper, who I think has saved West Brom really from the scoreline being really, really embarrassing. But going forward, they offer nothing. I think Pereira chips in here and there, but they're really banking on set pieces and a bit of luck here. There's no real quality going forward, and is this new striker that they're about to sign, going to be the difference between them getting relegated to the Championship or staying in the Premier League? I don't think so. I think they effectively need about 4 to 5 signings to have a good chance. I mean, that's how bad I think they are. And the thing about it is that I looked at Sheffield United as well, and Sheffield United have the better squad. They actually do. And if you've watched some of Sheffield United's matches, they've been really unlucky. They have been, and you almost feel sorry for Chris Wilder because, as Bob mentioned, their record. I mean, they're on points. What did Derby get that season?
11.
Yeah.
11 points.
They'll beat that.
Yeah. So I mean, we think they'll beat that, but as it stands, we're a little bit worried. But if you actually watch Sheffield United play, it's not bad. I mean, you compare the two sides, and I'm fancying Sheffield United every day of the week.
They just need to realise they're down, and then they'll start playing. That's the way it always goes.
Yeah.
All right, quick word about Fulham, Bob. They're 5 points behind 17th place Brighton. They have a game in hand. It's big, this one. If Scott Parker can pull off 3 points here at the Hawthorns, they're in with a shout, survival.
Absolutely. Well, I think they are anyway. I mean, it might be different if they go and lose, but I think they'll see this as their best chance to not only get 3 points, but to boost the goals difference a little bit as well. I mean, they're getting their rewards for good signings in the transfer window. They bought players who they needed. They addressed their weaknesses, and the only sort of problem they have is Mitrovic, who is their best striker on paper, but they can't seem to fit him in to the way they play. And he himself has been a bit out of sorts over the last few months and missing penalties and this sort of thing. So if they can get him firing, then I think they'll stay up. I say that now anyway, the way they're playing. And they've got Loftus-Cheek, who I think is a sort of poor man's Paul Pogba. He's
what a great description.
He's got all the talent, and
Doesn't have the
he's
dance
got
moves,
that.
mate.
He's got the or the dab, but he's got that kind of languid look.
Yeah.
He's elegant on his game. He looks good, but then he disappears for 20 minutes at a time, and he's supposed to be an attacking midfield player. So,
funnily enough, Bob. Sorry, I actually think he's been one of their better players in.
Yeah,
well,
he's the best midfielder they have. Yeah,
but I mean, he was a World Cup. He was a World Cup player for England, and he was reckoned to have established himself in the Chelsea team. Was being considered the first guy since John Terry to make it from the academy into the first team, and then his form just fell away. He got injured. He had a bad injury, to be fair, but I think it was a good move to try and get him, to try and bring that talent out of him. Yeah. But it's coming in fits and starts. He had a better game in midweek. He had a much better game.
He scored the winner at the end, didn't he?
Yeah. But he doesn't get enough goals.
All right.
But overall, that Fulham, I think they'll survive.
Well, the Cottagers have drawn their last 3 away league matches. West Brom versus Fulham, 0-0. Saturday, 11 p.m. kickoff. Chelsea versus Burnley is a Sunday 8 p.m. game. Des Corkill, the arrival of an international class manager in Thomas Tuchel. To be fair, he only had 24 hours to work with the team before he had to field one and manage one in the 0-0 draw against Wolves. But what have you seen? What do you think Thomas Tuchel will bring to the EPL?
I think his position's in danger because he's got the worst winning record of any Chelsea manager. So he had half time to turn it around. He chose the team. He had half time, and the team still didn't win. Gone.
Who'll be next then?
Now, just to add to that, John Terry. I want to add to that, Des, and say that Thomas Tuchel, wherever he's been, he's had problems with the hierarchy. It's a good job there isn't any internal politics going on at Chelsea.
He has a reputation as being just a little bit spiky, doesn't he? Which will go down brilliantly. What he did do, though, was he got it was almost 2 fingers to Frank Lampard. He got rid of the players who came through the Chelsea youth, if you include Tammy Abraham in that. So he got rid of them and said, "Listen, I want the big names, the in inverted commas experienced players, and I'm going to give Havertz his chance as well." And I think that was just a straight 2 fingers up at Frank Lampard, or he was doing what he was told to by the chairman.
Yeah, more likely, I think that the latter.
And we talk about that in Southeast Asia of coaches not being able to pick their own teams, and this struck me as an example of that, and I winced. I really did wince.
I don't know what Des is talking about. Never happens in Malaysia, that chairman picking sides. That's crazy talk. But from what we saw on Wednesday, Craig, just to put a label on the type of football that I saw against Wolves, it was called Sarri ball to me.
I don't know about Sarri ball. It was very possession.
Between Jorginho and his mates.
Yeah, it was very possession based. And one of the reasons behind that was the fact that Wolves didn't really come out and have a go. They just sat back and were hoping to hit Chelsea on the counter with Neto, with Traore, which they did a couple of times, and they hit the crossbar from one of them. But it wasn't enough, It wasn't and I've said this on the show, Ross, about this Wolves side. We admired them so much. We admired Nuno when they came up from the Championship. But this season they decided to change their style. They decided to change their direction as well in terms of players that they were bringing in and players that were leaving the club, and it just hasn't worked out. They're very defence-minded these days, and it kind of it doesn't allow the strengths of Traore, of Neto, of Podence. Obviously, they're missing Jimenez. But even if he was in this team, he wouldn't be getting a lot of chances. I just can't see how they'd be creating chances. So, I do think Tuchel plays with a very possession-based. And what he did was he tweaked the formation as well, didn't he? Played with 3 centre-backs, played Callum Hudson-Odoi as a right wing-back. But he was effectively a winger because Chelsea had so much of the ball. And Chilwell was right up there alongside him. So the full-backs were really high up. I think that's what we're going to see. And I think one criticism I had of Frank Lampard was that he didn't change it enough in terms of the formation. He stuck by it, kept going, kept insisting they play that way, and just didn't mix it up enough. And I think this could be the way forward, the formation for Chelsea.
All right. Well, Burnley are free scoring. They had a 3-2 win against Aston Villa in midweek. They are good fun to watch. Look at Des smile.
I just want to say that I think Thomas Tuchel and Chelsea, the club, will be glad there aren't any fans there, because the fans are not happy about sacking Frank Lampard and they're dropping Mason Mount, the best player this season. And I think they would voice their opinions if they were there in numbers. So I think Chelsea can count themselves lucky there.
All right. Chelsea versus Burnley, Sunday, 8 p.m. kickoff. West Ham versus Liverpool is Monday, midnight. This, I guess, is a straight battle for fourth. West Ham, amazingly, we say fourth and West Ham in the same breath, but they've been getting the results, Bob Holmes, under David Moyes, the much maligned Moyes, and good value for the fourth before Liverpool retook their fourth spot.
Yeah, amazing run. We never saw it coming, did we? I think David Moyes does deserve a massive pat on the back after what he's been through. I mean, he was great at Everton, and then he took the United job. We all know what happened there.
Do you think Jesse Lingard will be a good signing for them?
Well, yes. I mean, I think there's always a honeymoon period as long as the player can get games, get minutes. I mean, he was another World Cup player for England, wasn't he? Not all that long ago. But his form has just dropped off completely. I mean, there is a player in there, but we haven't seen it this season. We haven't seen it probably for a season and a half. And David Moyes thinks that he can get something out of him. He's managed to get something out of several players that were written off, probably half the West Ham team. So it's good to see Moyes restoring his reputation. I think it would have been rather unfair if he'd been just remembered as a Manchester United failure, if that had been on his tombstone. So well done. And he's not that negative. He's not that defensive. I mean, as West Ham are playing now, you're seeing some good stuff. I mean, he's fortunate he's inherited Souček and Antonio. Those are the 2 star players, and both were astute signings by West Ham, by previous regimes. Antonio only cost 7 million, and Souček wasn't an awful lot more. And
didn't he sign Souček?
He did sign Souček, and the right back as well.
Yeah, he did. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it was a good decision anyway. Antonio was certainly well before him, but. No, he's done a great job, but I think that that win last night for Liverpool changes things, and I think they will approach this game in a rather different manner, and I think West Ham will find that it's more like the old Liverpool that they're facing.
Well, West Ham are in a rush to find a foil or a replacement for Antonio up front. They need a striker. They need a number 9, having sold Haller. Liverpool in good form. Back to the formidable best, but again, that's a short turnaround, Des, between Thursday night's game but that's not going to bother you. They're highly paid. They're going to entertain you. They will, won't they?
It's a very difficult match. I was completely wrong about West Ham. I thought they would start well and plummet and fall, but Souček has been picked out by the gents. is terrific because he gets into the penalty area. One of the goals against Crystal Palace when Antonio pulled it back and Souček's attacking the 6-yard box. And if you've got people other than your main strikers doing that, that's terrific. So going forward, they've got this physical presence and they can score goals. And Moyes teams are always well sorted. Liverpool, let's see if it is a one-match recovery, because West Ham away is London's always a horrible little place for Liverpool to go. They've got a decent record at West Ham, but London's always never nice for Liverpool to go down to. And we'll see about the centre-back travails. Because of the power, the aerial power of West Ham from set pieces, if Joel Matip is out, and it could be out for a while, Fabinho missed the game against Tottenham as well. If he's recovering from an injury, you do worry how they're going to cope with the aerial threat from set plays and when West Ham do raid. So I think there's real vulnerability still at Liverpool, but it should be fun. I'm anticipating 5 goals in this at least. Lots of goals.
Now, Craig, you looking still with this game, you'd think the pragmatic David Moyes will go, well, it's a chance for us to measure ourselves against the champions of England. But inside, he must be going, hey, if we beat them, hey, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think Moyes is that type of manager, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
He knows that they're punching well above their weight. But the one thing about him, he's going to set out to win this game. And what West Ham did really well this season at the start was, obviously, they came with the tactical plan, which was to sit back, hit teams on the counter, using the pace of Jared Bowen, using Fornals, using Antonio. But as the season has gone on and they find themselves in this position, they've kind of changed it up a little bit. And that's been a good change, a good positive change. Ben Rama's coming to the side as well now. And
that's Moyes' managerial nous, right?
Yeah, and totally. He deserves to be getting the credit that he does. I mean, this was a guy who I think after his United job went really bad. He kind of had a bit of a bad reputation, didn't he? His first move to West Ham didn't really work out. Fans were on his back. He was
didn't learn Basque in northern Spain.
yeah, you know, and you know, even when West Ham came back to him the second time around and said, okay, you know, we're going to place our faith in David Moyes, it was laughed at by the West Ham fans, and it was seen as a backward step. I'm happy he's proving everyone wrong. I really am, because I mean, we saw a really talented manager at Everton, didn't we? And you know, obviously United didn't work out for him prematurely, some may say. You know, it remains to be discussed, but he's doing a fantastic job at West Ham, and they're getting some really good results. Will they stay in that top 4 position? I don't think so. I don't think any of us here think that they will. But just finishing in the top 8, top 6 is a massive success.
They're even talking about a new contract at West Ham. Amazing. West Ham versus Liverpool is Monday, midnight. That one kicks off. Arsenal versus Manchester United, Sunday, 1:30 a.m. Bob Holmes, Arsenal are going along great guns. They've had to cope with missing their talisman, Aubameyang, in recent games. Won impressively 3-1 at Southampton with the young guns. Saka, we've spoken about him before. What a player.
Yeah, their player of the season, I think, no doubt about it. And his combination with Emil Smith-Rowe has been a real eye-opener, hasn't it? They seem to have a great understanding. And this freshness is just what Arsenal needed. So I think Arsenal have got a pretty good side. They're not going to languish down there. They were never going to go down there. And I think that they... with a decent run of form, they could actually be challenging for a Europa League place in this weird season with lots of ups and downs. I think they're probably about the 6th best team in the country, quite frankly. They've had their blip, and I think they've sorted it out. They've shown they can cope without Aubameyang. Who was out because his mother was dangerously ill, by the way. That was the reason. It wasn't COVID or anything. and he may well be back, actually, which could be interesting for the United defence. This used to be the game, of course, around the millennium, the big clash between Fergie and Arsene Wenger. And both clubs have fallen down a little bit since then. Arsenal more than United. Yeah, all that. The icy handshakes and stuff, but they became Big Mace in the end, didn't they? But this one, a bit hard to call, because United will be stung by that defeat, and there won't be any complacency about United for this game. They should start on the front foot, so very hard to call. But I've got a hunch that Arsenal could actually surprise them.
They can, Arsenal that is, call on the talents of Martin Odegaard, whom they've signed from Real Madrid. He was so good at Real Sociedad. Real Madrid called him back, and now somehow it's worked out into a loan deal. He's a good player. He was one of these talked about wonder kids, Des Corkill.
I've been hearing this name, Martin Odegaard, for about 5 or 6 years. I've never seen the guy play. So I've got no idea what he brings to the table at all. But everybody's talking about him as the next Mesut Ozil. So let's see what happens. What I will say with Arsenal is they've played their way back into contention. They're only 3 points down on Spurs, which is quite amusing for Arsenal fans after the start that Spurs had to the season. They are working their way. There's a full half of a season to go to get themselves not only perhaps a Europa League, but perhaps even Champions League. If Aubameyang can come back and start scoring goals, if they can build on the Rob Holding central defensive solidity, and this is the perfect moment for them to actually kickstart or re-kickstart their season. A home game against the big boys, Manchester United. This is season defining, this game, I feel, for them. This will decide whether or not they have got a genuine chase up to the top and then can fit in the Odegaards. Or this will say, okay, Europa League is really our only realistic target.
Yeah, you could say that the same thing for Man United, Craig. It's a big game. It's a season-defining game, and obviously reaction is looked for now.
Yeah, most definitely. And, Bob mentioned the history and everything. I think that's still there. Maybe not in the same kind of way, but it still exists. I don't think, both teams are big fans of each other. However, with, you're looking at the table, United, if they have title aspirations, it's a must-win game, especially after dropping points to Sheffield United unexpectedly. I just think Arsenal have been showing some great form over the last few weeks. And, you look at Arteta and the form that Arsenal win when they went through that rut, and you look at Frank Lampard as well. It's crazy. Think about it. And this was a guy who was top of the league, Frank Lampard and Chelsea. What was it, 6 weeks ago,
6
maybe?
weeks ago.
Yeah. And loses his job earlier this week. Arsenal, credit to them. It could have been easy sacking Arteta, I think. It could have been very easy. Yeah. But they stuck with it, probably because they couldn't afford it. But they stuck with him. And this is what you get. You place a bit of faith. I mean, same thing with United and Ole. They stuck with him. They're getting better results now. I know Des has called for this over the years. But sometimes, it's not the answer. You look at what Southampton are doing right now with Hasenhüttl after that Leicester defeat. So there are some really good examples of managers being able to get through it. I still think Chelsea should have stuck with Lampard. But coming back to this game, Ole versus Arteta, it was two managers whose jobs were on the line not too long ago. But I am going for United to win. I think they're going to get a response. I think it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a very good game to watch. But I'm expecting a United response.
Well, Manchester United will set a new away club record if they come away from N7 unbeaten this weekend. Southampton versus Aston Villa is Sunday at 4 a.m. Free scoring Aston Villa look to add to their season total of 27 goals in 19 Premier League matches so far. I guess there are two sides performing, punching above their weight, Bob Holmes, here. Who do you fancy more?
Yes, I think that's a good way of putting it. No one thought that they'd be up even anywhere near the top half of the division, did they, at the start of the season? Never mind at these heights. Southampton have fallen back a little bit, but still a pretty good, well-organised team. And they've got Danny Ings, who, if he plays, is a match winner. I say if he plays because he's in dispute with the club he wants to leave, and they obviously don't want to let him go. So there's a bit of a question mark there. But Villa thought they were a bit unlucky in midweek, losing to Burnley. Jack Grealish, I thought, was magnificent. Absolutely showed who the best young English number 10 is. All these arguments about Maddison, Mount, Grealish, and one or two others. For me, it's Grealish. It's always been Grealish. And I thought he was outstanding. He could win a match on his own. And I think that's the reason I will go for Villa to take this. I thought they played very well. But Burnley were at their most stubborn. And they came back and surprised Villa with a couple of second-half goals. But Villa will take heed of that. And I think they've probably got a little bit too much attacking flair for Southampton. So I go for Villa.
All right. That's a Sunday 4 a.m. kickoff, Southampton against Aston Villa. Leicester City against Leeds United. Could be a lot of fun. Sunday 10 p.m. Des Corkill. Leicester still there and thereabouts, challenging. Leeds are back to winning ways. They played Newcastle, everybody's favorite team to play when you want to get back to winning ways. But yeah, this is a big ask, you feel, for this Leeds team.
It is, but which Leeds team will turn up? A swashbuckling one or a team that'll fall like a stack of cards? I think the victory over Newcastle was very important for them because they'd been on a downward trajectory over, a month or so. So for them to maybe go into Leicester and take Leicester on man for man in the way that we saw Leeds in the early stages, just reset for Leeds perhaps into the second half of the season. This could be more difficult for Leicester than perhaps you might think. I've given up making predictions on Leeds in any way, shape or form. But I do feel they will give this one a go. And if they give it a go, then Leicester can be susceptible to teams that give it a go against them.
Yeah, and for Leicester, every time we talk about Leicester, Craig, the whole Jamie Vardy subject comes up. It's whether he can stay fit is imperative if they're talking about challenging for the title for a Champions League spot, right?
Yeah, definitely. We've spoken about this as well, and he will not be available for this fixture. So it's tough. We admire Leeds. I think Leicester. Sorry, I think Brendan Rodgers has done a fantastic job there. But one thing he's failed to do is get a suitable replacement. They played Ayoze Perez there. They played Iheanacho there. They're not of the same quality. Now Leicester aren't short of a few bucks, are they? And they can easily go out and get a good striker that can fill in the boots. Over the years, before Rodgers, you had Slimani, you had Ahmed Musa, all these names that had come in, but it just you never got the right guy. Now Danny Ings is looking for a move away from Southampton, as Bob said. And Leicester are doing things. Leicester are serious and they're building something there. That could be something that Brendan Rodgers could be considering. And I think they need a striker of that kind of quality to fill in. Jamie Vardy's got about another year or so left, I think. And if Danny Ings does move there, you can slowly phase Jamie Vardy out. Maybe he doesn't have to play 30 games a season. It goes down to about 20, 22. And Danny Ings gets his fair share. So, I think I wouldn't say bad management, but, I was very disappointed that Leicester didn't really go out and kind of identify a replacement for Vardy or a suitable substitute for him. And I think that's going to hamper them in the next few weeks. I really do. I like Maddison. I like Tielemans. Barnes chips in with a lot of goals. But without Vardy, they're just short, aren't they? And I'm going to go for an upset here. I reckon Leeds might do something.
Ooh, Sunday, 10 p.m., Leicester City against Leeds United. Brighton against Tottenham is a Monday 3:15 a.m. game. Brighton are teetering. They're, 5 points above the relegation zone. They're searching desperately for some home form. I read that New Maupay is the top scorer with 4, Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big problem, isn't it? And I'm surprised that they haven't addressed it. I mean, they've had a few weeks of the transfer window. They've still got a few days left. Perhaps if they don't score this weekend, they might just panic and go out and buy somebody. But that's never a good thing if it's a panic decision at the end of the window. They should have tackled this earlier, much earlier, because we could see from really almost the start of the season that they didn't have the scoring capacity there. They play nice football, they're well organised and all that, but this has been their downfall, lack of goals. And you said it all there with 4. That's the top score of 4 goals. So I don't think Jose Mourinho needs to park the bus here, does he?
Handbrakes off.
He'll certainly be looking for a response to the defeat to Liverpool. Jose didn't look a happy man for one reason or another last night, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Joe Hart in goal actually for Spurs, because Hugo Lloris was culpable, well, partially for one of the goals, definitely for another. And he is rather prone to these lapses, isn't he? He managed one in the World Cup final and still ended up on the winning side. But I think he might look at that. So, but even so, even with Joe Hart, no disrespect to Joe Hart, I think that Spurs should win this one without too much trouble, because Brighton simply cannot score.
Yeah, that's massive. I thought one Tottenham player who maybe came out of the Liverpool defeat all right was Ndombele in midfield for Spurs.
I thought Højbjerg, though.
Oh yeah, Højbjerg's goal was super. But Ndombele played that through ball for Son at the start. I thought he was great. You know, his attitude has totally changed. That's down to Jose Mourinho's management, isn't it, Des?
No, he was very, very, very highly regarded. Honestly, he was really regarded by Tottenham fans when he first arrived. And it took him a year to settle in. So I just think he's a top player. I can't tell you how excited some of the Tottenham fans I know who are season ticket holders who used to watch the game when you're allowed to were when Ndombele came, and they were frustrated. We're just seeing that coming through. Good players, you play them in their best position. Yes, obviously Mourinho has got into him and is using him in the better way. But I just think he's a terrific signing. And again, it's coming through this year. But for Tottenham, I tell you what, this is an awkward game because if they don't pick up all 3 points here, they suddenly get a little bit detached, even though they've got a game in hand. But they suddenly get a little bit detached from that top 4, which must be their objective for the league season. They've still got game in hand. It's not the end of things. But if Harry Kane is out for any period of time, then they need the likes of Ndombele to step up. They need Son to continue his ridiculously high scoring percentage ratio. And so Ndombele then becomes a key player for the rest of the season if Harry Kane is a longest term injury. I mean, I've heard it's both ankles.
A few weeks.
A few weeks.
Apparently they're both swollen up. And
so that's
apparently one of the ankle strains happened in training with Ndombele. Apparently he flicked the ball past Kane, sent Harry Kane to the chip shop along the Seven Sisters Road. and that's how he twisted it, and then he did it in the game as well. So yeah, that should be a good game. A potential banana skin says there's Brighton against Tottenham is Monday at 3:15 a.m. Before we go, just ask Bob. Bob, what are you most looking forward to this weekend, man?
I would say the West Ham Liverpool game. I think that's the most intriguing looking tie, but Arsenal Manchester United is another one. I mean, hard to separate the two. I mean, it's a really good program. It always seems to be, doesn't it? I mean, we used to say it's good because there's six top teams, and you're more or less guaranteed a game between two of them every weekend. But now we've got about 8 or 9, so you get 2 or 3 sometimes top games. So it just adds to the fun. It's great stuff.
Brilliant stuff. Craig, Man United, Arsenal score?
I've got to go for United. I think it's going to be 3-2.
Ooh, high-scoring game. And Des, which game will be most affected by VAR this weekend?
So Arsenal, Man U is in there. West Ham, Liverpool. I'm sure there'll be something coming up. Most of them. I guarantee you, though, and I almost look forward to the weekly rant now. I guarantee you there will be one bollock dropped, big time.
Brilliant stuff. On that note, I say thanks to the gentlemen, and thank you guys for watching. Brilliant stuff. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.